Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 5 of the Bonfire. In this episode, we'll be discussing two of my favorite NPCs, Anri of Astora and Horace the Hushed. I'm looking forward to getting into this one, as I feel it goes really well with my last episode about the Deacons of the Deep, as it kind of lays the groundwork for what the Cathedral of the Deep was all about and who exactly Aldrich was. If you haven't already seen it and you're looking for more background information, I urge you to go watch it. But without further ado, let's get into the tragic tale of Anri and Horace. Their story begins in the Cathedral of the Deep, at the height of Aldrich the Devourer's reign. As I discussed in my Deacons video, Aldrich at this point had near absolute power within the cathedral, using it to sustain himself on a diet of men. His appetite wasn't just sated by grown men, however, as it's implied that he had a particular propensity for devouring children. Of the countless children that he consumed, only 2 of them ever managed to escape. We know from the description of the executioner set of armor that Horace wears that he was one of these children. Steel armor of Horace the Hushed, who took a liking to its cold, bulky insides. Horace is one of only 2 children to escape Aldrich's clutches. While the identity of the other child isn't revealed to us so explicitly, I believe that we can identify her as Anri of Astora for 2 main reasons. The first of which being that her and Horace share the common goal of finding and killing Aldrich. Based on their voice lines, Anri's voice lines, it's clear that Horace means a great deal to her. This is especially evident when the 2 of them become separated, and Anri expresses her desperation to find him.
Oh, Horace, where have you run off to? Have you abandoned me? No. What a horrible thought.
The 2 of them endured unimaginable suffering together, being held as livestock to be devoured when Aldrich so pleased. They managed to escape and have now set out together to avenge the countless lives snuffed out by Aldrich's hunger. The second reason that I believe Anri to be the other child that escaped is the fact that she's been resurrected at all. As we know, when the fire went without linking, the bell tolled, raising past lords from their graves, Aldrich among them. However, he, along with the other lords besides Ludleth, refused to link the flame again, leading to the resurrection of unkindled ash. Throughout the game, we encounter other NPCs who have been resurrected in relation to a specific lord, like Siegfried of Catarina being resurrected to fulfill his promise to Yorm the Giant. Both Anri and Horace are resurrected in relation to Aldrich, determined to slay him. Now that we've established their origin and their goal, I'd like to get into these individual characters' backstories, leading up to the point at which we encounter them. First, discussing Horace, one question that we need to answer is where, or more accurately, who, he got his armor from. Also found within the description of the executioner set is the line, "The original owner was said to be a corrupt executioner, who was killed and stripped of his armor." The identity of this executioner is never actually revealed to us, but I believe it to have been someone that he encountered during his escape. While we know that Aldrich especially enjoyed devouring men whole, there's no way that this would have always been physically possible for him. Before he grew to such a size that he could actually accomplish this feat, I think it's likely that he had an executioner there to kill and dismember his meals for him. And this is someone that would have been of use to him long after he became large enough to devour men whole, as we know that he enjoyed sharing this pleasure with those around him. The Aldrich's sapphire and ruby rings both include the following in their descriptions. Aldrich, infamous for his appetite for flesh, apparently had the desire to share with others his joy of imbibing the final shudders of life while luxuriating in his victim's screams. Because his followers didn't share his enormous size, they likely would have appreciated having an executioner there to prepare their meals. I think that Horace killed this executioner during his escape, and likely used his armor to flee without detection. And while it's true that Horace was very young at this point, we don't know exactly how old or large he was, so I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that while the armor might have been slightly ill-fitting, it still served its purpose as a temporary disguise. The second question that we need to answer about Horace the Hushed is how he came to be so hushed. When you first encounter the duo at the Halfway Fortress Bonfire, Horace will give you the Blue Sentinel's Covenant, a clear indication, in my opinion, that he is, or at least was, a member of this covenant. Equipping this covenant allows the player to be summoned to another person's world to help them fight off an invader, which can sometimes be someone within the Rosaria's Fingers covenant. This covenant is an especially brutal one, as they are known for not only killing, but also removing the tongues of those they slay. And this is the answer to the question of Horace's silence. Now, whether or not this happened to him before or after he joined the Blue Sentinels, I don't know, but the connection here is clear to me, as these covenants are directly opposed to each other. Either Horace joined the Blue Sentinels at some point after his escape and was then targeted by Rosaria's covenant, or he just happened to be an unfortunate victim and then joined the Blue Sentinels to protect others from suffering the same fate. Although little is known about Horace's life after escaping, it's clear that he dedicated it to protecting others from suffering in the same ways that he had. And as for Anri of Astora, I want to begin by getting into the legitimacy of her title. Although her name implies that she hails from the kingdom of Astora, I find this hard to believe. Keep in mind the method by which people were brought to the Cathedral of the Deep to be eaten. The aptly named Road of Sacrifices was used to transport people from the undead settlement to the cathedral, meaning that nearly all of the people being held there came from the undead settlement. I believe this includes both Anri and Horace, but if Anri isn't from Astora, why has she taken it as a title? I think that this is because of the great feat that she accomplished there, saving the kingdom from a terrible evil. At some point after her escape, the land of Astora was attacked by the Evil Eye, a great spirit that sought to destroy it. Hearing of this evil, Anri traveled there, determined to do good in a world that had only shown her brutality. Incredibly, she managed to vanquish the spirit, saving Astora and its inhabitants. The description for the Ring of the Evil Eye that Anri gives us reads, "This ring captured the foul spirit of an evil eye, a creature that ravaged Astora. The horrid spirit nearly destroyed Astora, but was eventually defeated by the sword of one most noble." After she defeated the spirit, I think that the people of Astora showered her with gifts, which can also explain why she's in possession of multiple items that originate in Astora. They even urged her to take the name of the kingdom as a title, a symbol of the great service that she had done them. I think that the reason that she's never explicitly connected to the defeat of the spirit is because she still feared capture by Aldrich. She accepted their gifts and took the title, but urged those that she'd saved to stay quiet about her existence. We have to keep in mind that she was only a child when she was taken by Aldrich, and the things that she witnessed while in his possession would have been enough to scar any child, even decades later. Perhaps Anri stayed there in Astora, having found herself a new home separated from her grim past. There is little else known about her deeds following this achievement, but I think it's safe to say that her and Horace both dedicated their lives to helping others in a way that they had never experienced. When the bell tolls and the two are resurrected, they both understand their duty. They find their way back together, likely not having seen one another since their escape. They're both determined to finally kill the monster that tormented them as children, but they're both branded by the dark sign, meaning that their humanity will seep from them until they eventually go hollow. As we know, however, this hollowing can be staved off as long as a person has a clear goal, a reason to keep living. At the beginning of their journey, they both seem unaffected by the dark sign, propelled forward by their duty and their companionship with one another. We first encounter the pair on the Road of Sacrifices and learn that they're making their way to the Cathedral of the Deep to slay Aldrich. It's possible that this is the very same road that they traveled as children, when they were taken from their homes to be devoured within the cathedral. However, they will not find Aldrich at the Cathedral of the Deep, as he's already departed for Irithyll. After we defeat the Deacons of the Deep and return to the Firelink Shrine, we find them here, and Anri explains to us that they'll now be traveling to Irithyll to continue their search.
I'm well pleased to see you safe. We reached the Cathedral of the Deep, but Aldrich's coffin was empty. The man-eater must have left for his true home. The little doll in the empty coffin told me. Aldrich is said to hail from Irithyll in the Boreal Valley, an ancient fabled city. A pilgrim told me that the city lies beyond Farron Keep, and so becomes our destination.
The next time we encounter Anri will be within the catacombs of Carthus. and the course of their quest has greatly changed, as the two have become separated. She asks if you've seen him, and when you tell her no, she says that she'll continue searching for him, and will leave prism stones to guide them back together. The second time we encounter her here, Horace is still missing, and it's evident that she's beginning to panic.
Oh yes, I see. I've searched high and low with no luck. Perhaps he's left the catacombs. Oh, Horace, where have you run off to?
By our third encounter with her, we have found Horace, and we're faced with a choice. We know at this point that Horace has gone hollow, and we have the choice to tell her the truth or lie to her. We have the option to tell her where he is, but if we haven't killed him at this point, their ending is grim. There is no soul left within Horace's body, and if you tell Anri where to find him, she will go there and he will kill her. If instead you choose to kill Horace yourself and lie to Anri, she will survive and eventually make her way out of the catacombs, devastated but still determined to carry out her duty. We next find her at the Church of Yorshka bonfire, and it's clear at this point that her determination is waning now that she's without her companion. She's so close to Aldrich now, and the next time that we see her, we'll be fighting alongside her. By this point, she knows that Horace is gone, and though she's heartbroken, she puts on a brave face to fight Aldrich, now not only fighting for the children, but also for her beloved companion. Once Aldrich is dead, Anri will lose the will to go on, and suffer the same fate as Horace. Before this, she gives her sword to Ludleth, asking him to pass it on to you and urging you to stay away, for she knows what will become of her. If you ignore this request, she can be found in one of two places depending on how you progress the story. She can either be found in the same place that Horace went hollow if you told her the location after you killed him, or you can find her in front of a group of small, child-sized graves, likely built in remembrance of those lost to Aldrich. In her final moments, Anri will choose to remember those that she's lost, having fulfilled her duty in their honor. But what if their story had a different ending? If the two had never become separated and had fought together, could their companionship have been enough to stave off the hollowing? Their story may have had a far less tragic end, had it not been interfered with. I don't believe that Anri and Horace became separated incidentally, nor do I believe that Horace hollowed so quickly because of a weak resolve. Rather, this tragedy was orchestrated, and hints about who exactly was behind it can be found within their story. Anri, like us, is unkindled, but we know that she can also go hollow. In order for an unkindled to go hollow, they must be branded by the dark sign, which allows their humanity to seep out. We, the player, have the option to be branded by this sign in exchange for power, and in order to do this, we must seek out the pilgrim Yol of Londor. He performs this ritual for us, leaving us both unkindled and hollow, much like Anri. Anri also references a pilgrim that seems to be guiding them along their path, as he tells her that Aldrich can be found within Irithyll, leading them to enter the catacombs. Considering the fact that both her and Yol are found in Firelink Shrine at this time, I think it likely that he's the pilgrim that she's referring to. Yol directs them to the catacombs within which they become separated. But why? Well, if you accept 5 sigils from Yol, he will go hollow and be killed by a woman named Yuria of Londor. Yuria's goal is to bring about the Age of Dark, and she was once a worshipper of Darkstalker Kaith. She sees you as a prime candidate to rule over this new age, but unfortunately, you are still too weak. You need more of the sigils offered to you by Yol, but there are no others willing to grant them to you in this way, meaning that they must be stolen. Yuria speaks of a betrothal to Anri, although this concept of marriage is far less sentimental than you may imagine. Yuria even tells us that she has someone guiding Anri, referring to Yol. By marrying Anri, you essentially kill her, forcing her to go hollow so that you can steal her sigil and become powerful enough to rule the Age of Dark. But there's something standing in the way of this: Horace. Yuria understands this, and so she instructs the pilgrim to lead the two to the catacombs of Carthus, at which point she's somehow able to separate them. Once she has accomplished this, I believe that she instructs either Yol or another of her followers to lie to Horace, telling him that Anri has died. Horace is lost in the catacombs and now believes that his friend is dead. He succumbs to the hollowing, having lost the will to live. And now that Anri's alone and her resolve is weakened, she's a much easier target for Yuria. When we meet Anri at the Church of Yorshka, we are not alone, as there's an assassin hiding in the room. If we choose not to kill the assassin, he will slay Anri, and then all that there's left for us to do is steal her sigil, forever taking her soul. After her death, Yuria will direct you to the Temple of the Dark Moon in Londor, where you will find Anri laying upon an altar. Using a sword given to you by the assassin, you pierce her heart, stealing her sigil and her soul, thus completing the marriage ritual. If you go on to steal the fire and become the new lord of an age of dark, you will see Anri kneeling behind you, her soul having been forsaken in exchange for your newfound lordship.
Forgive me, Horace. It pains me to leave you.
And that concludes the story of Anri and Horace. I really love this questline, and there's so much here for us to speculate on. Aspects of their story, like where exactly Horace got his armor and if Anri was actually the one to kill the evil eye, are completely up for debate, and I've seen so many really compelling theories. I would love to hear what you guys think about this questline and what you decided to do in your own playthroughs. But full disclosure, if you let Horace kill Anri or chose to marry her, I'm going to think you're an awful person. I'm also now living with my cat, who is peacefully sleeping back there. I'm not sure if any of the takes with her in them will make the final cut, but whether I like it or not, she will definitely be making appearances in these videos. And that's going to do it for this episode. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, don't go hollow.